No matter where you are in the country right now, watching this story that India Today broke yesterday, you couldn't possibly be undisturbed. It's a story that's horrifying, a nightmare for progressive and secular India. A story that has ripped the hearts of people all across the country, and we've been getting messages. The murder of Nagaraj, even as his wife, his young wife Sultana, was pleading for his life while they murdered him. Apparently his relatives. We're going to get into that story in a big way. We're going to detail it for you and show you everything we have, with the Hyderabad police also speaking out now. First, the headlines. BJP claims Congress Telangana president has admitted that the lady with Rahul Gandhi in a Kathmandu nightclub is the Chinese ambassador. India Today has conducted a fact check. TRS takes a separate drugs jibe at Rahul, puts up a white challenge poster, asks if Rahul can take the test as well. Stalin's police in Tamil Nadu under the lens in the custodial death case in Chennai. Victim Vignesh's autopsy report reveals chilling details of injuries and fractures. SCST panel levels murder charge at the Stalin government. After 12 days in jail, Member of Parliament Navneet Rana released, admitted to Lilavati Hospital in Mumbai. Navneet's husband walks out of jail with Hanuman Chalisa in hand. Khalistani terror plot busted in Haryana. Explosives and weapons recovered from 4 terrorists accused linked to Babbar Khalsa International and Pakistan-based terrorist identified as Rinda. Huge controversy over comedian Kunal Kamra's internet meme on the child who sang a patriotic song for Prime Minister Modi in Berlin. The boy's father lashes out at the comedian, says, "Keep my son out of your filthy jokes," speaks exclusively to India Today. The very latest in the Hyderabad hate crime just revealed by the Hyderabad police is that 2 accused have been arrested by the Hyderabad police for the brutal murder of 25-year-old Nagaraj. The police have revealed that the main accused in the hate crime is his wife Sultana's brother. He and his family were against this interfaith marriage between Sultana and Nagaraj. The 2 accused, including Sultana's brother, had hatched a plan to murder Nagaraj, who was stabbed to death with a knife and a rod. All of it caught on camera. He was also repeatedly hit on the head with an iron rod after being stopped while he was traveling on a motorcycle. A murder most foul that's been captured on mobile video as well as on CCTV camera. And now the Hyderabad Police Commissioner coming out to confirm, after India Today's relentless coverage, that 2 persons, including Sultana's brother who is in this video, have been arrested.
Within 24 hours ఈ కేసులో మనము అరెస్ట్ చేసినాము. అట్లాగే ఇది కేసులోది మన ఏసీపీ ఎల్బీనగర్ శ్రీధర్ రెడ్డి గారు ఇది ఐఓగా ఉన్నారు. సో ఇది కేసులో దర్యాప్తు కూడా చాలా త్వరగానే కంప్లీట్ చేసిస్తాము. అట్లాగే ఈ కేసులు మనం ఫాస్ట్ ట్రాక్ కోర్టులోని ట్రయల్ కోసం కూడా అప్లై చేస్తాము. సో ఇది ట్రయల్ కూడా తొందరగా కంప్లీట్ అయ్యేటట్టు విల్ ఇన్ష్యూర్ ఇట్. అట్లాగే ఇది డిసీజ్ ఎస్సీ కులానికి సంబంధించిన కాబట్టి మన చట్టాల ప్రకారంగా అట్లానే గవర్నమెంట్ రూల్స్ ప్రకారంగా whatever benefits his family members are eligible will get all those benefits also. Job కావచ్చు, otherwise monetary compensation కావచ్చు.
And this is that operative video, ladies and gentlemen, where you can clearly see 23-year-old Sultana pleading with her relatives, in this case apparently her brother and another person who've been arrested now, pleading with them, practically begging for the life of her husband Nagaraj as they butcher him in full public view. There are 3 videos. India Today has all 3 videos, whether it is mobile video, whether it is CCTV video, piecing together how the murder of young Nagaraj took place in the city of Hyderabad. Here's the full story.
An interfaith couple pays a heavy price for love. Nagaraj, who married Sultana 2 months back, is brutally stabbed to death in front of his wife in public. 2 spine-chilling videos reveal the true horror of the Hyderabad murder. In the first video, an assailant, suspected to be Sultana's relative, can be seen charging at Nagraj with a sharp object. Sultana tries to stop the attacker, and Nagraj is seen lying in a pool of blood. In another video, Nagraj, who was on a bike, is stopped and murdered in front of many people who stood there like mere spectators. Nagraj's family alleges Sultana's relatives, who were unhappy with her marriage, are behind the killing. Sources say initial probes suggest the interfaith marriage is the reason behind the murder. 2 suspects are arrested so far.
We registered a case. We are investigating on proper lines. According to initial investigations and informations and confirmations, only it is confirmed that two people, including girl's brother, participated in this offense.
The BJP has called for the arrest of everyone involved in the planning and execution of the murder plot.
पूरी गहराई से इस मर्डर केस के ऊपर इंक्वायरी हो और जितने लोग इस मर्डर केस में इन्वॉल्व हैं, सभी के सभी लोग अरेस्ट करें.
Nobody from this anti-lynching lobby is ready to open their mouth and break their secular chuppi. Nobody is holding up placards. Nobody is returning awards. Because this happened in Hyderabad and because the victim's caste and the religion of the aggressor is inconvenient to speak about.
अगर कोई मुस्लिम को हिंदू लोग मार देते, क्या वो ऐसी चुप बैठता? क्या वो ऐसी बात नहीं करता था? तो आज वो सेक्युलरिज्म क्या हुआ? वो डेमोक्रेसी के बारे में जो बार-बार बात करता, वो आज क्यों चुप रहे?
The gruesome murder in Hyderabad has once again brought to fore the divisions in society, even in this age and century. With Ashish Pandey in Hyderabad, Bureau Report, India Today.
Staying with the same state of Telangana, the politics there is hotting up in a really, really big way. Remember, Telangana goes into election mode next year, but now the TRS and the Congress are at a very, very ugly war. A day before Rahul Gandhi arrives in Telangana, posters and banners have come up in Hyderabad asking if the Congress leader is ready to accept a drug test. Termed the White Challenge, this drug test was initiated by Telangana Congress chief Revanth Reddy, who said he was going to take a drug test and challenged TRS minister Rama Rao for the same thing. He moved to spread awareness in the state and to curb the existing drug menace. Well, after the Congress's challenge, the ruling TRS has now thrown the White Challenge to Rahul Gandhi, sparking a very personal and a very ugly face-off between the arch rivals, the TRS and the Congress party.
We would remind him of the White Challenge call given by Telangana PCC President Shri Revanth Reddy, a White Challenge for a drug test to different political party leaders. Our Minister Shri Rama Rao ji is ready to take up the challenge and has asked Shri Rahul Gandhi also to take part in the White Challenge and give the samples for the drug test.
My only request sincere request with Rahul ji is, Rahul ji, please pick up the matters of Telangana in the parliament. Please speak on them, help us out in resolving the issues related to paddy procurement, help us out getting a national project status for Kaleshwaram, help us out in the incentives that we are supposed to get from the Bharatiya Janata Party government. Speak on our behalf in the parliament. If you want to just come into public and make a political scene and go away, that is up to you. But then people understand today that you are not talking about them at all, and your sincerity is being questioned here in Telangana.
So politics really, really hotting up in Telangana. It's a state where the ruling TRS and the Congress have made this fight very personal, very ugly. There are popular leaders at the center of this entire face-off that's taking place. And this is one face-off where the BJP is not really visible. It's between the ruling TRS and the opposition Congress party, and now it is centered around this so-called White Challenge. The Congress leader in Telangana, Revanth Reddy, has proposed a white challenge where people can take drug tests to show that they are clean, and he has challenged Minister KTR to do the same. KTR has said, why can't Rahul Gandhi do that? Rahul Gandhi, freshly returned from Kathmandu after that entire nightclub controversy, which has its own sort of momentum, has become the talking point in Telangana. Mohammad Shakil Amir is an MLA and leader of the ruling TRS. He joins us live from Hyderabad. Also, Professor Shravan Dasoju is spokesperson for the Congress party. Gentlemen, welcome to you both. Thank you for being with us here on India Today. To you first, Mohammad Shakil Amirji.
Yes.
Your government, your minister has basically responded to this entire white challenge of Revanth Reddy by saying, why doesn't Rahul Gandhi take this test? What did you mean by that? Because Rahul Gandhi is arriving in your state tomorrow, sir.
Yes, why not? In the past, the Telangana State President of Congress, Mr. Revanth Reddy, has challenged our Honorable Minister to go for a test for the drugs. And we have openly challenged that Rahul Gandhi should come and take the test, and our minister is also ready for that. So when he is coming, we will be ready. Let them come out clean that he is ready for the test or not. Let them speak on it. We are open to it.
Okay. Professor Dasoju, how would you respond to that? Because, you know, this entire white challenge was initiated by your state chief in Telangana, sir. And, you know, you've attacked KTR and said you should also take this white challenge. They've turned it around and said, since Rahul Gandhi is coming, why doesn't he also take it? Has that embarrassed your party, or how will you respond to that? Because this was initiated by your party, sir.
Suddenly is looking like an opportunity by bringing this discussion. Remarks, Shivji, you made a mention that politics have come to an ugly level, low level. This is what to bring down the discourse of politics to a low level, ugly level. Now, you have shown in your, before you picked up this discussion, you have shown a gruesome murder that has happened, which indicates the kind of lawlessness that exists in the state of Telangana. Thousands of farmers are committing suicide. Unemployed have several problems. These issues, they don't want to get discussed. They want to divert and deflect the attentions of the people. So therefore, they put up some anonymous poster and bring this kind of third-rate discussion of white challenge. In fact, yes,
taking a test.
Challenge discussion to be cropped up, and he challenged KTR. The context was that TRS has owned pubs. Were behind promoting ganja and a lot of these drug rackets. All this and send a strong signal to the state of Telangana that
can we get Professor Dasoju on the phone, please, because his voice is breaking on this line. Can we get him on the phone, because we don't want to lose what he is saying in this important thing. But Professor Dasoju, staying with you, and I hope we can convert that to a phone connection. This is something that Revanth Reddy has himself initiated, sir. I don't hold a brief for any side, but I'm saying that if you are trying to create a point against the government in Telangana, they are doing the same. They're just, throwing the ball back into your court and saying, let Rahul Gandhi also take the test. This was started literally by your party, sir. Am I right, Mr. Amir, while we get that line fixed?
Yes, of course, 100% you are right. And it has been repeated multiple times by Mr. Revanth Reddy. So we are ready for the test. When he is coming to Telangana, Hyderabad, we are welcoming him, and we are saying that, yes, please join us for the drug test.
See, because
his party has challenged.
Yeah, continue.
What his party has challenged, we are asking them, come clear on it. Why is he afraid of doing a drug test?
Okay,
There is, no question to getting afraid. Why is he afraid like?
No, because
he should come clean and he should have a drug test. Let our Honorable Minister will come. Even the whole cabinet, all the MLAs of Telangana Rashtra Samithi will come for the drug test. Let Rahul Gandhi come.
No, that's a big claim to make, and I don't want to act like this is a frivolous issue. A drug menace is a terribly serious issue. No matter which state it discusses it, it's a very serious issue. But obviously, obviously at the political level, a point is being sought to be made against the government, which is totally legitimate. I think Revanth Reddy, trying to project this in a way that appeals to the public is well within his rights to do so. My simple question now is whether this will become a symbol of a larger kind of test on our political class. Because now you've got the TRS that has put the ball in the Congress's court. Professor Shravan Dasoju, I hope he's going to be patched back with me, says that this is a diversionary tactic, but he hasn't taken my question yet on how it can be a diversionary tactic if it is the Congress itself that actually did this. While we wait for Professor Dasoju, Mr. Amir, are you saying that Minister KTR, the entire cabinet is willing to take this so-called white challenge, as being demanded by Revanth Reddy, if Rahul Gandhi also participates in it, or will you do it anyway?
No. We have already told that if Rahul Gandhi, because they have challenged us, and we are asking them if their national leader, whatever, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, if he is ready for the test. Our minister has openly told many times that I am ready for the test. And even I am saying the whole cabinet of Telangana state will come for the test. Even if Rahul Gandhi is ready, let Mr. Rahul Gandhi, let Mr. Revanth Reddy come for the test. And the other Congress leaders also kindly come for the test. We are ready for it.
Okay, Mohammad Shakil Amir, thank you very much for speaking to India Today. Unfortunately, we lost that line with Professor Dasoju, and I don't have an update on whether we're getting him back, so we're going to have to leave it there for the moment. Thanks very much for that. Very ugly politics being played out. Things are especially vicious between the TRS in Telangana and the Congress party. There has been a hate crime in this state. Rahul Gandhi arrives tomorrow after his visit to Kathmandu. JP Nadda of the BJP will be arriving. The BJP is trying to grow its influence in Telangana, where it isn't really a player at this point of time. Elections taking place at the end of next year. So the political battlefield of Telangana most certainly is hotting up. Okay, I'm told that we're going to get both our guests back. I apologize to our viewers, for that little bit of a technical difficulty. Here on India Today, we always strive to get both sides. Professor Dasoju, I hope you can hear me well right now, sir. We were talking to MLA Amir, but to you, Professor Dasoju, what the TRS is saying is that in response to what Revanth Reddy has said, KTR and the entire cabinet is willing to undergo this so-called white challenge. So why is the Congress getting defensive about the government of Telangana saying Rahul Gandhi should also do this? Why getting defensive about that?
I think this is so ridiculous. Ulta chor kotwal ku dante is what the TRS is trying to do. They want to cover up their role in the drug racket, in the TRS leaders' role in the drug racket in Telangana. They want to cover it up, and they want to now ask Rahul Gandhi to come for a white challenge. This was asked few months ago when there was a serious discussion happening and serious outburst
of
ganja and drug menace was happening in Telangana. They didn't want to respond at that time. When Rahul Gandhi is coming to rescue the farmers who are being deprived of TRS misrule, who want to stand with the unemployed youth, at that situation, this gentleman is trying to talk about drug test is simply a deflecting tactic. First of all, I think we demanded, and once again, I am making a demand.
Taken by India Today. It's not the decision taken by me, okay? And we are ready to speak on any topic you wanted to speak.
Shakil bhai, मैं ज़्यादा बोले तो अच्छा नहीं लगेगा. आप लोग कितने ड्रग रैकेट में हैं, कितने लोग बम चलाते हैं, कितने लोग कुकीज हैं, क्रिकेट बैटिंग चलाते हैं, ये सब चीज दुनिया को मालूम है. आप लोग आके राहुल गांधी के बारे में बात करने में शर्म आ रही है.
Sir, one at a time. Make your points individually, then we can hear you both. We can hear you both one by one.
मेरे को आपकी बात सुनने के लिए. आप लोग बम चलाते हैं, ड्रग बेचते हैं, आप लोग झुकी काम करते हैं, आप सब लोग TRS के लोग.
Shakil ji, 1 second. Shakil ji, let him finish, then you can respond. Mr. Amir, 1 second.
Any agency you can involve. Why are you guys afraid of it?
What afraid of? Let KTR come, KCR come. Shall KCR take the liquor drug test every day? Can they come?
get
KCR come, ask KCR to come.
Rahul Gandhi come
Okay,
and do the test.
tomorrow, once the farmers meeting is over, let Mr. Kalvakurta Chandrasekhar Rao come for a drug test. Let him come. What are you talking? You guys sell drugs. You guys run farms. You guys run the cricket betting. You have made lawless state. You have converted the state into a liquor Telangana, and you want to talk about Rahul Gandhi.
About this, and he has
What is it?
Shakil ji, Shravan ji.
लोग हंसेंगे गूगल मारे तो टीआरएस पार्टी के लोग जो है तो ट्रक के पीछे है, टीआरएस पार्टी के लोग पब चलाने में है, टीआरएस पार्टी के लोग क्रिकेट बुकीज में है।
Shakil ji, one at a time. 1 second, let him finish. Shakil ji, I'll give you time to respond. Let him finish.
टेस्ट करने के लिए आप क्यों नहीं है?
शकील भाई पहले आपके पार्टी में है तो जो चोर है, ड्रग रैकेट चलाते हैं उसको पकड़िए। आपके पार्टी में जो चोर है पब में ड्रग डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करते हैं उसको पकड़िए। मैं किसानों के मुद्दे में बात करने के लिए यहाँ पे आ रहा हूँ। राहुल गांधी
all kinds of things are being said right now on this side. I know this is
we are very much clean here. We are very much clean here. All the people of the country and people of state are seeing. We are ready to accept the challenge. We wanted Mr. Rahul Gandhi also to come and accept the challenge, please.
गूगल बताती है आप कितना क्लीन है, आप कितना क्लीन है गूगल बताती है। गूगल से मारिए ड्रग्स रैकेट बोले तो 1000 नाम आप लोगों का जाते हैं।
Okay,
साहब क्लीन है तो कोई तो कोर्ट होगा ना। आप कौन है? आप कोर्ट है, आप जस्टिस है।
let me just ask a question.
कोर्ट हो, आप जस्टिस हो, आप क्या हो? आप किसके ऊपर कैसे बोल सक रहे हो?
Let me try and impose some control.
पहले आप आपके पार्टी में है तो ड्रग रैकेट चलने वाले को पहले अंदर करो।
Shravan ji and Shakil ji.
अंदर करो।
Shravan ji and Shakil ji, one second. With your indulgence. One second. Let me ask a question. Let's put both our guests back on the screens. Shakil ji and Shravan ji are both both mature individuals. They both represent their parties, and obviously emotions can fly sometimes. I'm not going to judge over here. I am simply, let me ask a couple of counter questions also. Shakil ji, what does Rahul Gandhi have to do with Telangana politics? If your cabinet is willing to do this, I am just simply asking, the Congress is saying you're trying to divert it by saying Rahul Gandhi se bhi test karao. What does Rahul Gandhi have to do with Telangana politics?
No, Rahul Gandhi is one of the important leader of Congress party. And he basically, you can say, he is off the record head of the Congress party, right? And we are accepting the challenge. And our honorable minister has said the challenge which has thrown by the Pradesh Congress chief of Telangana, Mr. Revanth Reddy. It is not that we have said it. He challenged us and we accepted it.
Okay.
And we are saying now if Rahul Gandhi is coming, anyway he is coming. And we are ready for the drug test, and let him do the drug test also. Why are they afraid of it?
Shravan sir, does it feel like the Congress locally
let the people of India see. Let the people of India see. Let them ask them to come clean before the people of India.
Politics is all about perception. Shravan ji, you know that also better than most people. Does it feel like the Congress has fallen into another trap by imposing this entire white challenge? Your leader is coming from Delhi to visit NSUI leaders, etc. A lot of politics has happened over the Osmania University visit as well. I am just saying, has Rahul Gandhi fallen into a trap, or has the local Congress unit kind of cornered Rahul Gandhi in this embarrassing situation? Because the government is saying you guys started it.
Shivji.
And it is a serious issue, I concede that. Yes, please. Please.
Shall I talk?
Please.
Rahul, Shivji, as I told you that TRS is making a mockery of the entire democratic process in Telangana. They have converted this into a drug racket. They have converted into a heaven for the lawlessness people. In fact, 4 or 5 months before, when there was a serious discussion happening in the state of Telangana about the drug menace, at that point in time,
Shakil, let him finish.
Shakil, let him not allow me to complete. It is not fair. I am on a phone somewhere far. My audio is not clear.
Please. Yeah, one at a time. Shakil ji, please wait, let him finish, then I'll come to you. You can respond.
See, when there were serious charges against the TRS party leaders involved in drug racket, and also running the pubs, distributing the drugs. At that point of time, Revanth Reddy said that
Shakil Ji, you can respond once he finishes. Let him finish.
The competent authority.
This is not fair. What kind of bulldozing is this?
You should mention.
Shakil Ji, no bulldozing here on India Today. Shakil Ji, let him finish. Let him finish, then you can give him point by point reply. Shravan Ji, finish your point, then I'll come to Shakil Ji. One at a time, please.
A few months back, when there was a very serious discussion happened in Telangana about the drugs, TRS leaders behind this drug racket, TRS leaders behind this pubs distributing the drugs, at that point of time, Revanth Reddy said, to send a strong message to the youth of Telangana that indulging in drugs is a crime, it destroys the life. He said, let us all take white challenge and let also every youth of Telangana take a white challenge so that we proactively and aggressively control the drug menace. And then to that he said, why not KTR comes? And there are also in fact charges that KTR is running some pubs and things like that. At that point it was raised. At that point KTR never accepted, no TRS leaders accepted. At this juncture, when Rahul Gandhi is coming to address the issue of farmers committing the suicide, to address the issue of unemployed youth of Usman University and various universities, these gentlemen, in order to divert the topic, making a mockery of the entire people's problem, bring up this issue only to divert the people's attention. I'm requesting you, Shivji, please ask the TRS leadership and the government to punish all those leaders who are behind the drug racket from the TRS party who are running the.
We will report on it.
Punish.
Yes, no. The drug menace and the drug rackets, etc., are a legitimate story, and we will cover them here on India Today. I promise you. I am only focusing, since we have limited time, on the politics and the face-off that's taking place at the leadership level. Shakil Ji, you want to respond to that? The Congress says no matter what you say, it's not a political issue. You are diverting from the issue. That's what the Congress says.
No. The one thing I'm asking is, who is the competent authority who charged on the TRS leaders are involved in any drug cases? Even there were raids conducted few weeks before in Hyderabad, where Congress leaders were arrested in the drug raids. And they were totally involved in taking drugs, and everyone has seen that. It has appeared in all the TV channels. And let him show one competent court or any competent authority or any first information report saying that the TRS leaders are involved in any kind of drug issue. And we are diverting nothing. We are asking Congress to come clean on the drugs issue, because India is watching, and this is the biggest issue right now in our country. And a head of a national party, if he takes a drug test and come clean, that will be more better and good for our people and for him also. Let him come clean. Why are they afraid of taking the test? I don't understand.
Okay.
It's not about diverting. He's talking about farmer suicide. Why in Rajasthan Rahul Gandhi is not going? There were already farmer suicides in Rajasthan. There are a lot of dangas going on in Rajasthan. Why is Rahul Gandhi not visiting there? And the universities in Delhi, the Delhi University, the Jawaharlal Nehru University, there were a lot of atrocities were taken place there by the VHP and other organizations, and they did not go. Rahul Gandhi never visited, being in Delhi.
I'll give the last word.
In Delhi, he never visited there.
I'll give the last word. I'll give the last word to the opposition party, since we started with Mr. Dasoju as well. Sir, Rahul Gandhi is arriving tomorrow. Do you think this is going to become a bigger issue? Is there any possibility at all that the Congress might throw the ball back into KTR's court by saying, yes, Rahul Gandhi is ready for this white challenge?
I'm sure by now, Shivji, you would have also understood the kind of dubious deflecting tactics of TRS. They don't want their failure with regard to addressing the farmers' issue to be discussed. They don't want unemployed youth problems to be discussed by Rahul Gandhi. Hence, they have stooped down to a level of not even allowing the Rahul Gandhi to enter the Usmani University. Now they are bringing up this white challenge. I mean, ulta chor kotwal ko dante. You type on Google, let the country type on Google, find drug racket TRS, 100 names will come. Lot of them are saying that, running
okay.
past,
I'm going to wrap this up.
distributing ganja, liquor, and everything.
Okay.
Telangana
This
is
is, you're making the same points now, and now it's unintelligible. I'm going to stop the debate there because we can't hear either of you. But I appreciate your time. Thank you, Shakil ji. Thank you, Shravan ji. Always appreciate it. I know this is all about politics, but it has gotten particularly vicious in Telangana, and things are only going to heat up. Rahul Gandhi is coming, JP Nadda is coming, and the general road to the next election of Telangana next year is wide open and it's bristling. Meanwhile, politics over Rahul Gandhi's party video, the genesis of what you're seeing right now in Telangana, has escalated even further, and there is a Telangana angle there as well. The BJP's Amit Malviya has tweeted a video from an interview of Telangana Congress President Revanth Reddy, the man behind the White Challenge, where Revanth Reddy says in that interview that the lady with Rahul Gandhi in the nightclub was a Chinese diplomat. Amit Malviya has lashed out at the Congress, asking why was Rahul partying with the Chinese diplomat in a foreign country. Remember that this allegation is the subject of a fact check that India Today has done right here since yesterday. You can watch that on our channel and on our website. Remember, the Congress defended Rahul's visit to Kathmandu as a personal one. Rahul in that viral video was seen talking to an unnamed video, and our fact check says that is not a Chinese diplomat, as is being claimed, but this has become political now because the BJP says even the Congress, via Revanth Reddy of the Telangana state unit, has said it is a Chinese diplomat.
ఆ పక్కన రాహుల్ గాంధీ గారి పక్కన ఉన్నామే చైనా అంబాసిడర్తో నేను మాట్లాడుతుంటే ఆ వీడియో తీసుకొచ్చి అది బహిరంగం. ఆ పక్కన రాహుల్ గాంధీ గారి పక్కన ఉన్నామే చైనా అంబాసిడర్తో నేను మాట్లాడుతుంటే ఆ వీడియో తీసుకొచ్చి అది బహిరంగం.
71 days into the Russian invasion of Ukraine, something has just happened which could be interpreted as one of the biggest potential escalations of this conflict. Russia has explicitly warned that NATO vehicles bringing arms and supplies into Ukraine will now be targeted and attacked. Remember, NATO is not a direct combatant so far, but Russia has now explicitly said, we will attack and destroy you. Will that force the NATO to become directly involved in the combat? What are the scenarios? Take a look. "71 days into the Ukraine war, with town after town and city after city either reduced to rubble or falling to Russian hands, Putin has issued a warning that has the potential to make this a much bigger conflict than it already is." The warning articulated by Russia's defense minister.
The United States and its NATO allies are continuing to pump weapons into Ukraine. I want to mention that we view any transport to the North Atlantic Alliance arriving on territory of the country destined to Ukraine army as a legitimate target to be destroyed.
What the Russian defense minister has said is already sending shockwaves. The Russian military has repeatedly conducted strikes on Ukrainian depots containing Western weapons. But actually striking Western transports delivering those weapons would mark a significant escalation in this conflict. The Russian warning is therefore a direct threat to the larger security situation in Europe. So far, NATO has played a support role in Ukraine, shipping containers full of advanced weapons and ammunition, military hardware and combat supplies across the Polish border into Ukraine. NATO has also played a second critical but invisible role, aiding Ukrainian defense forces with satellite data, targeting intelligence and sensor access to help attack Russian positions and assets with accuracy. If NATO vehicles and trucks carrying weapons become legitimate targets to the Russians, does that mean that NATO will be forced to hit back when attacked? And if that happens, what is the nature of the escalation ladder? And where will it actually end? Bureau Report, India Today. It has all the makings of a truly nightmare scenario, much worse than what's already happening in Ukraine. So let me just refresh our viewers' minds about what those supply trucks from NATO and are actually bringing into Ukraine. There are tanks and there are armored vehicles that are coming in large numbers to Ukraine from NATO. There are also a lot of anti-tank weapons coming in, courtesy of the United States and Germany, especially the Javelin and others. There are anti-tank, anti-aircraft missile systems and anti-aircraft gun systems that are coming in, courtesy NATO. They're coming in via trucks. There are artillery and heavy guns, 155mm, 130mm, M777, ultralight howitzers, all coming in, courtesy NATO. There's also a lot of ammunition and ordnance, shells, bullets, from rifle bullets all the way up to tank shells that are coming in huge NATO consignments in trucks across the Poland border. And finally, let's remember there are also a lot of radars, sensors, electronic equipment, computers of all kinds that are being shipped in on NATO trucks into Ukraine. So all of these supplies are coming in, and what Russia has basically said is all those supply convoys are now going to be fair game. Quickly want to tell you also where these supplies are coming from. So it gives you an idea of where Russia is at least stating it will launch those attacks. Yellow is Ukraine, of course. This is Poland. Many of these NATO countries use Poland as a base to send weapons. So tanks, etc. are coming into Poland, and then over the Ukraine border is where those supplies are going. So these are basically the NATO supply routes into Ukraine. The big city of Lviv is there. The capital city of Kyiv is over there. So those are the supply routes that Russia now says it will target, and NATO equipment and supply convoys will be fair targets. But there are very, very crucial big questions to ask, because Russia has so far only warned NATO. It has never actually hit NATO assets. These trucks actually belong to NATO. So if Russia fires and destroys NATO equipment, can NATO actually simply sit there? So the first question I'm asking is, will Russia actually start targeting NATO vehicles? I'm asking that is because there's so much mind games and saber rattling going on. One has to ask that question. Question number two, can NATO sit silent, or will it be forced to actually respond if its assets, if its vehicles, if its soldiers come under direct attack by Russian forces? Question number three that we're asking, will this mean that NATO steps directly into combat? NATO has so far said it has no intention to get into this fight directly with Russia, but if they are hit, if Russia actually strikes their assets, do they really have a choice? Number four, will this force the United States to rethink its entire hands-off policy? Because many of these supply convoys are US sponsored. So will this mean the US also is put on notice and will have to step in? Number five, is this the biggest escalation since the invasion began? We've seen a lot of nuclear saber rattling, but will this mean NATO becomes part of the actual fight? And finally, as a disclaimer, are these the usual Russian mind games we've seen so plentifully during this conflict, or does Russia really have a plan to hit NATO targets within Ukraine, those supply trucks that are there? India Today's Rajesh Pawar joins me live from Kyiv, Ukraine, and Geeta Mohan has been traveling in Crimea. She's the only journalist reporting from there. Rajesh, quickly want to come to you first. A lot of warnings have been issued in the 71 days of this war. There's a lot of muscle flexing, a lot of saber rattling, lots of ultimatums being issued. But this particular warning that's come in from the Russian defense minister is particularly alarming, because we do know that NATO sends large quantities of arms and equipment into Ukraine across the Poland border. Russia says we are going to start targeting those convoys. Do you see that as possible, or is this another mind game?
Look, Shiv, let me put the whole thing in perspective. Right from the beginning of the war, Russia ensured that there is a complete naval blockade of Ukraine, be it in Sea of Azov or be it in Black Sea. Secondly, they also made entire Ukrainian Air Force dysfunctional. So the only way the equipment which is coming from America and NATO countries which can reach Ukraine is through the land borders, and primarily through Poland. And all this equipment which comes, it comes to Lviv first, and from there onwards to Dnipro and towards eastern Ukraine, where Ukrainian forces are fighting Russian forces. Now the question is, which you are asking, if Russia strikes these convoys inside Ukrainian territory, then it is certainly a legitimate target and does not give any right to NATO to get into the war. Who's manning these vehicles is also again an important question. Russia had made it very clear they will not allow any soldier from NATO countries to operate inside Ukraine. If these vehicles are being manned by the NATO soldiers, then it's a direct interference of NATO as it is. And Russia had warned it right from the beginning of the war, they will not tolerate any kind of interference in this war by any other country. But a second question is, if Russia strikes these convoys outside the territory of Ukraine, then it is 100% that NATO will get involved in this and this war will escalate beyond Ukraine. Shiv.
Very, very, it's very alarming because of the way things have gone. Geeta, like Rajesh pointed out, the warnings to NATO have been issued quite a while, been issued right through this entire conflict. But now they're talking specifically about those supply convoys coming across the Polish border. What is the sense that you're getting? You're in the, you've been traveling through the Russia-controlled parts of Ukraine. You're currently in Crimea as well. Are you getting the sense that this kind of escalation can actually happen where NATO supplies could be directly targeted by Russia?
Well, Shiv, last time when we were having this conversation, we clearly spoke about how the parameters for escalation is changing every day. Russia has very clearly said that if the NATO continues to supply heavy weapons, weaponry that could damage Russian assets, then that certainly would be considered an escalation, and Russia will respond in full measure. Russia, mind you, has not used its air force, the full might of its air force, and therefore, like Rajesh said, this land route is the only route from which supplies are coming in. But there's a red line over here, Shiv, which is that NATO has been supplying weapons. There is no weaponry that is originally only Ukrainian. Most of it is from outside, either European countries or, for that matter, Russian. And that's why if NATO continues to supply, the moment it crosses the borders, the Polish border, it becomes Ukrainian weapon and weaponry. And that's why, if they are not sending forces, then it is Ukrainian and it is fair game. But the important point over here is that escalation in the West will only happen if Russian assets are severely damaged. Until then, Russia is completely focused in this part, that is the eastern parts of Ukraine, and not just in ensuring that they're captured, that the process of de-Ukrainization, Shiv, has already begun.
It's incredible. And Geeta, reports from Sevastopol in Crimea. You're about to see a report that I'm going to play out for you as well about how submarines have been used for the first time to launch missile attacks on Ukraine. But thanks very much to both Rajesh and Geeta. Stay safe. We'll keep coming back to you on these developing stories. The entire escalation ladder, the dynamic is changing every day. Like this report, like I told you, where caliber cruise missiles have been used by Russia through this war, launched either from land or from surface ships. But for the first time now, Russia has started using submarines lurking beneath the waves of the Black Sea to launch cruise missile attacks on Ukraine. These are the implications. A pair of Russian caliber cruise missiles breaking the surface of the Black Sea to the south of Ukraine and blasting into the sky, headed towards unknown targets in the war-torn country. The missiles launched from beneath the waves by a Russian Kilo-class submarine. The footage you're looking at, released officially by the Russian government this week, captures what is believed to be the first use of submarine-launched weapons in this conflict so far. Caliber cruise missiles have been used extensively by Russia so far, but have mostly been launched from surface ships. These missiles, with ranges that run into hundreds of kilometers or more, have been used to target several Ukrainian cities, especially in the southern part of the country. Ukraine's military headquarters claimed this week that 3 Russian military boats armed with Caliber cruise missiles are currently roaming the Black Sea, awaiting target data to escalate strikes on Ukrainian territory. But Russian ships and boats have been rendered vulnerable in the days gone by, thanks to precision drone strikes being brought to the fight by the Ukrainian Navy. And that's possibly why Russia has now begun using its much less vulnerable, stealthy submarines to conduct similar land attack missions using these Caliber long-range cruise missiles. In fact, recent satellite imagery from Maxar shows the loading of missiles onto what is believed to be a Kilo-class submarine in the Black Sea port of Sevastopol in Crimea, a location India Today has been reporting from.
Sevastopol naval base, one of the most important naval bases for Russia, a warm water naval base. You can see the ships behind me very clearly. This is one of the most important strategic positions for Russia. This is where they have a stronghold over the Black Sea, the Sea of Azov, and Crimea becomes very important because of this infrastructure, critical infrastructure for Russia, and Russia is controlling waters around the Black Sea in this region because of this very important naval base.
The question now is, can Ukraine battle Russia's undersea fleet? Does Ukraine have the capability to target Russian submarines effectively? Will Ukrainian cities now be sitting ducks to invulnerable Russian submarines? Or will NATO's undersea fleet be drawn into this new chapter of the conflict that appears to have been opened in the Black Sea? With Geeta Mohan in Sevastopol, Crimea, Bureau Report, India Today. And we're going to keep covering the Ukraine story very, very closely. That's it on 5 Live. Thanks for watching.